It started with a single blip, a flicker. At the Atlanta Air Route Traffic Control Center, a man named Dave chewed on the end of a pen. He was watching American Airlines Flight 227, a tiny green dot crawling its way toward Dallas. Then it wasn't there. He blinked. He tapped the glass of his monitor. Sometimes the system lagged, a glitch, but then another dot vanished. And another. All across the vast, dark screen, the little symbols representing thousands of human souls, tons of steel, and countless stories were just gone. It was not a gradual failure, it was an abrupt, silent, and total erasure. The room, usually a symphony of calm, professional voices, fell quiet for a single sharp intake of breath. Then came the voices, urgent, confused.
Tower, I've lost United 915. Repeat, I have lost all contact and telemetry.
Another voice cut in, higher, tighter. Where is Delta 401? It was right there. Dave felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He tried hailing Flight 227, silence. He tried the emergency frequency. More silence. It was a coordinated, impossible event happening in real time, yet it felt like a dream. The dots were not falling off the screen, suggesting crashes. They were not diverting. They were simply ceasing to exist in the digital and physical space that the radar occupied. All of them, at once, across the entire planet. The phones began to ring, not just the internal lines but the main switchboard, the emergency lines, everything at once. It was London, it was Tokyo, it was Sydney. The same story repeated in a dozen languages, all carrying the same note of rising panic. The skies were empty. It was 22:13 Coordinated Universal Time, a moment that would forever be known as the Great Vanishing. At airports, the silence in the sky was replaced by a rising tide of noise on the ground. At Heathrow, Gate B34 was supposed to be boarding a flight to New York. The screen above the gate still read, "On time," a cruel joke against the backdrop of what was unfolding. A gate agent, a young woman named Sarah, was trying to calm a man who was shouting that he needed to get to his daughter's wedding. She had no answers. Her headset was a mess of static and panicked cross-chatter. All she knew was that the flight crew for the plane sitting just outside the window had been told to stand down. No planes were taking off, anywhere. The confusion quickly curdled into fear. Passengers, stranded in the liminal space of the terminal, began to realize this was not a simple weather delay or a mechanical issue. Their phones lit up with frantic messages from loved ones. "Are you okay? Have you heard the news? They're saying the planes are gone." The whispers turned into a roar. People surged toward the ticket counters, demanding answers that no one had. Security guards formed human chains trying to maintain order, but they were overwhelmed. The carefully constructed choreography of airport life, the orderly lines, the polite announcements, the sense of controlled movement had completely broken down into a sea of anxious, frightened faces. The planes themselves sat on the tarmac like giant sleeping beasts, rows upon rows of them, silent and dark. Ground crews, who should have been buzzing around them with fuel trucks, baggage carts, stood in small, bewildered groups, staring up at the empty sky. Now, there was only the wind and the distant sound of sirens. The machinery of global travel had seized up in a single, frozen moment, and these grounded planes were the tombstones marking its death. The news did not break, it shattered. It didn't flow through official channels at first. It exploded across social media in a firestorm of raw, unfiltered panic. The first viral post was a shaky video from a woman at LAX screaming, "They're all gone! The planes are gone!" It was followed by millions of others. The vanishing empty skies, where are they? Every post was a tiny piece of the same terrifying puzzle. A screenshot of a blank Flight Radar 24 map, a photo of a crowded terminal in Dubai, a frantic audio message from someone whose brother was a pilot on a flight that no longer existed. The world's information ecosystem, designed for speed, was now a conduit for mass hysteria. Traditional news outlets were caught flat-footed. Anchors appeared on screen, their faces grim, their language careful, but unable to hide the sheer bewilderment. "We are getting unconfirmed reports." They would begin, but there was nothing to confirm. There was only an absence, a void where there should have been data, planes, and people. News helicopters were grounded by emergency order, so they couldn't even show the empty skies. Instead, they ran B-roll footage of airplanes from yesterday, a ghostly reminder of a world that no longer was. Pundits and experts were brought on, but they sat in stunned silence or offered wild, baseless speculation. How do you report on an event that has no precedent and no explanation? The fear was personal and universal. Millions of people had a connection to the sky, a parent on a business trip, a child returning from college, a spouse coming home from deployment, a friend on vacation. In an instant, these connections were severed. The world became a planet of people waiting for a phone call that would not come, staring at a flight tracker that would never update. The collective grief was immense, but it was a strange, formless grief. There were no crash sites, no wreckage, no final black box recordings. There was only the sudden, brutal silence and the gaping hole left behind in countless lives. Everyone, everywhere was looking up at the same empty sky, asking the same impossible question. What just happened to our world? In the immediate aftermath, the leading theory was simple. Technology had failed us. This had to be a cyber attack. It was the only explanation that fit within the realm of known possibilities, however remote. NATO's cyber defense headquarters in Estonia, the NSA's Fort Meade. Teams of the world's best coders and analysts were thrown into a desperate hunt, tearing through trillions of lines of code, searching for a malicious program, a digital ghost. Primary radar systems, secondary radar systems, every satellite, every transponder on the planet. It was a monumental task, like finding a single grain of sand on all the world's beaches at once. They called it Cerberus, ground-based radar, satellite communication. The plane's ADS-B transponders. It was elegant, it was terrifying, and it seemed plausible, for about 6 hours. But as analysts dug deeper, the theory started to fall apart. There were no digital footprints, no corrupted files, no backdoors, no evidence of any intrusion whatsoever. The systems hadn't been tricked or blinded, they were working perfectly. They were reporting with 100% accuracy that there was nothing there. The data wasn't missing, it was clean. The skies were, according to every diagnostic, empty. This sent a chill through the investigative community. If it wasn't a cyber attack, then what was it? The focus shifted to a coordinated technological failure. Could a single, faulty component present in every aircraft and ground station worldwide have failed at the exact same moment? Engineers and manufacturers were dragged into secure video conferences. They pored over schematics, transponders, guidance systems, satellite uplinks. The idea was dismissed almost as quickly as it was proposed. The diversity of technology was too great. A 30-year-old Boeing 747 cargo plane, a brand new Airbus A350. They shared as much in common as a carrier pigeon and an email. A simultaneous, identical failure was statistically impossible. With the digital and mechanical explanations exhausted, investigators were forced to turn to the fringes. Deep beneath the White House, in the Situation Room, the air was thick with tension. The president sat at the head of the long table: generals, intelligence chiefs, scientific advisors, Moscow, Beijing, Brussels. For the first time since the Cold War, leaders faced a crisis with no enemy, no flag, no demands. General Mark Malam presented the military assessment: no hostile action detected, no missile launches, no unusual energy signatures, no airspace violations before the event. Defense systems had seen nothing, built to watch nations, not reality. Scientists were brought in. Astrophysicists, quantum physicists, atmospheric scientists, lifetimes spent on fundamental laws. Dr. Aris Thorne was asked to speculate. He spoke in quiet, measured tones. A localized folding of space-time, a temporary intersection with another dimension, a quantum event on a macro scale? Wild conjecture, he admitted.
"We are operating outside the known laws of physics," he whispered.
It's as if someone or something found an off switch for a category of matter and flipped it. The intelligence community was in chaos. Spies checked counterparts abroad. The answer: nothing. No secret Russian weapon, no clandestine Chinese project. The confusion was global. No perpetrator. More terrifying than an attack. A war you could fight. A terrorist you could hunt. How do you respond to a physics problem? How do you retaliate against an event? Diplomacy, sanctions, military posturing, utterly useless. Powerful people were impotent, staring at empty screens in windowless rooms. Hours turned to days. A desperate plan formed. A coalition agreed to launch unmanned high-altitude drones. In the days following the vanishing, the world began to feel the true cost of an empty sky. The immediate human tragedy was immeasurable, but the secondary effects cascaded through the global system like a series of aftershocks. The world's economy, built on the principle of just-in-time delivery, ground to a halt. Cargo ships were still crossing the oceans, but they were slow. Intricate supply chains were severed. Microchips, medical isotopes, fresh flowers factories fell silent as they ran out of crucial air-freighted components from overseas. The impact on daily life was profound and unsettling. Mail stopped. Not just packages, but letters. International postal services had relied on aircraft for decades. A grandmother in Ohio could no longer send a birthday card to her grandson in Germany. Businesses that depended on overnight document delivery were paralyzed. The flow of information, of commerce, of simple human connection was throttled. The price of everything that had to cross an ocean began to skyrocket. Fresh produce vanished from shelves in import-dependent countries. The human cost extended beyond the passengers and crew. Pilots, flight attendants, air traffic controllers, mechanics, airport staff, travel agents, hotel workers. Their jobs vanished overnight. The economic devastation was swift and brutal. People were grieving a lost way of life. The psychological impact was perhaps the most significant. Humanity had lost a freedom it had taken for granted, the freedom to move. Cross continents in hours see the world connect with distant cultures. The planet felt bigger, people felt smaller, trapped by geography once again. A week has passed since 2213 Coordinated Universal Time. The world is a different place. The drones were launched, the rockets were launched. Their sensors reported back nothing but the cold, empty vacuum of the upper atmosphere. The sky did not react, except for the profound and total absence of airplanes. They are beautiful, useless machines. There are whispers of a new plan. A secret international coalition is preparing a single manned flight, and so the world waits. The sky is there, vast and blue and open, but it is no longer ours.